Joe again with another movie review. And for this video, I'm going to be discussing the 1958 film, The Vikings. It has an A-list cast, but a D in execution. Because this movie stars, of course, as you can see in the right, Tony Curtis, Kirk Douglas, Ernest Borgnine, and Janet Leigh as the four main characters. And like I said before, it has an A-list cast, but a D on delivery. Because this is a stereotypical film at that time. There was like a sword fighting film. But for the basic plot is and this movie was like a half hour long. Maybe even an hour, stretched out for an hour would be enough. Well, unfortunately, this movie is about an hour and 56 minutes, and it's like I rolled my eyes over this film. When the movie is basically about is Ernest Borgnine is like the king of the Vikings. He's like the supreme leader of this group of Vikings, who like the plunder and pillage through England, or the English, or the UK, or the English Isles. And one particular trip, Ernest Borgnine attacks and rapes. And actually, of course, back in 1958, they didn't use the word rape. Um, excuse me, in the film, but he rapes a queen, and the king of England dies, and unfortunately he didn't give birth to an heir in time to take over the crown. When I found out that, excuse me, when I was found out that she admitted that she is pregnant, even in 1958 she couldn't even say pregnant. She didn't say and with child, but it was the king. It's not the king's baby; it's the baby of uh, the leader of the Vikings. They're in this Borgnine character. So what happens is, of course, they do live. They lived in exile. At least the baby did, and the baby turned out to be grew up to be 20 Curtis in the film. And the rest of his life was like nothing but a slave for the rest of his life. And but the legitimate son, at least a child that Ernest Borgnine had my one of his wives, was having to be Kirk Douglas. So Kirk Douglas hated Tony Curtis, but unfortunately, because they hated him because he was a slave, or maybe you possibly competition for him. But what they didn't know is that they were actually half brothers, which not until the end of the movie you didn't even know until like the end of the film. Uh, but of course, they had a common love interest, which is having to be Janet Leigh. Because one of the times they pillaged England, that Kirk Douglas leads this party to raid England again. And Janet Leigh was engaged to be married to the prince, and Kirk Douglas kidnaps her and says, "I'm gonna make you my bride. So if you touch me, I'll kill myself." Who knows? Maybe she should have killed herself so we could avoid the embarrassment for being in the rest of this movie. And this movie came out like 2 years before Janet Leigh's most famous role, which of course was in Psycho. And of course, Tony Curtis was her husband at the time. So you see, I don't know if they were married then or not, but they were together. They started being together for the course because of their story in this movie. And I wish they were in a better movie together, but this movie was just crap. It was crap. And of course, when Janet Leigh was kidnapped, Tony Curtis frees her, and now Tony Curtis is in deep shit, and Kirk Douglas was hunting his ass down. And of course, through the course of the film, at least in the very early part of the film, Kirk Douglas gets attacked by Tony Curtis's hawk. So that adds up to the more tension between the two characters, and that's why if you see on the cover, that's why Kirk Douglas's face here is all scored up as missing an eye because he got attacked by Tony Curtis's hawk. And on top of that, Tony Curtis also has a little down, like, not only in the movie but in real life as well. Like I said, just said, they were married in real life, and that daughter is Jamie Lee Curtis. And of course, there was a competition between the two of them. And now, well, guess what? Janet Lee got reacquired, but by the King of England said, "Hey, you're gonna marry me," and all that stuff. And well, Kirk Douglas goes in together. And during the time, of course, Tony Curtis tries to help. I said, "Look, let me help you out." It says, "Okay, since you're a slave anyway, you can help out." And during that course, Tony Curtis loses his hand. I'm sure the movie was made today in 2016 instead of in 1958. You can actually physically see Tony Curtis actually has his hand uh, chopped off, or his left hand chopped off. For the rest of the movie, he has his hand covered, so you know his hand was never really chopped off. But you did see him screaming when he got his hand chopped off. It was a pretty gruesome scene even for 1958 audiences. So, so Tony Curtis had scars, and so did not scars, he lost a hand, and of course he had Ernest Kirk Douglas with his facial scars. And of course, the movie does come out down to a big fight scene between Tony Curtis and uh, Tony Tony Curtis and Kirk Douglas, and of course it was like way too late in the movie they have a big fight between the two of them. And it comes at the very end of the film, and of course, spoiler for those of you who didn't see the movie, uh, Kirk Douglas does get killed by Tony Curtis. Kirk Douglas dies, gets killed by Tony Curtis at the end of the film, and it's just too little, too late, and it was just overly corny, overly dramatic. I thought it would reminded me of a bad movie because of the cast that's in it. But the movie itself was terrible. It really was terrible. I mean, it didn't do anything. This is how bad the movie is. And of course, any of you who are my followers, subscribers to my YouTube channel or whatever, you know I'm a big fan of movies. I've done over 500 videos at this point, so you know I'm a big movie fan. For me to only watch a movie twice in my life, and I had this movie for more than 10 years, for about 13 years now, and I've only seen it twice. The first time I got it, and recently, so I could do this review, you know it's bad. If I only see a movie twice, you know it's bad. And, at least for me, if I only watch a movie less than 5 times, you know it's bad. At least for me, because this movie didn't do anything for me. It really did, because I've seen movies like El Cid or Ben Hur or some of the other sword films from the 50s and 60s, and this movie is not that much different from any of them. Predictable plot. Uh, it's really horrible, and the ending was a crappy ending. In the fight scene between Tony Curtis and Kirk Douglas should have been larger, should have been longer, should have been more, maybe a tad stretched out just a little bit, maybe a couple of minutes longer. But it was too short. It was overly corny, and it was really a bad film. I mean, these guys, even though all the main characters have since passed away, they should have been embarrassed for being in this movie. Seriously, they all should have been embarrassed. Because, well, Tony Curtis is more to be embarrassed about than Kirk Douglas or Janet Lee, because he starred in the Bad News Bears Go to Japan, so he should have been embarrassed for that movie as well. But this movie is almost as bad as the Bad News Bears Go to Japan in terms of for Tony Curtis anyway. But the rest of the actors, they should be embarrassed for making this movie, because this movie did absolutely nothing to help their careers. And I guess maybe that's why Janet Lee starred in Psycho, because that really helped her career and gave her career new life, because she was great in that movie. But fortunately, in this movie, she wasn't all that great. Even Otis Borgnine commented, when his character comes, when he first sees Janet Lee, he says, "Boy, she is hot, she's beautiful, but she's too skinny." You complained that Janet Lee was too skinny. That was a lie in the actual movie. I'm not making this up. I said, come on, you complain about a woman who looks like that for being too skinny? I mean, come on. Come on, I see skinny women. I see thinner women in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, for God's sake. And I said, but Janet Lee was hot. I mean, she really was hot. And she was great in this movie. She was good in this movie, but she was better in Psycho. Definitely better in Psycho than this piece of shit movie. And it is, and I think that everybody to avoid this movie. But if you see it once, it's enough for anybody. It really was more than enough for me because I thought it was a terrible movie. And I mean, I was bored. Even though it was an hour 56 minute film, it felt like a 2 hour 56 minute movie. It was that boring. I mean, it was not great at all. Just not great at all. And like I said, everybody in this movie should be embarrassed. Should be embarrassed that they were in this film. So that's my review of the movie The Vikings. Please click on the video, please rate it, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my videos not only on my YouTube channel, but rowdyc.com. That's all WDY, letterc.com. There's a homepage in the Rowdy Doer. Christy Moore. Please check out all of his videos as well on his website. And thanks for watching. Catch you next time.